Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll continue reading chapter 8 of Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita book. He quoted former United States President Harry S. Truman as saying that national independence means that the citizens should have a comfortable life. So, if that were the case, said Abhay, where was India's independence? His point was that all attempts at happiness and prosperity are unlawful as long as they fail to recognize the proprietorship of the Supreme Lord. An atheistic civilization could never produce peace. In Progressive Ambition and Unsatiated Lust, Abhay wrote, There is there is no dearth of money, but there is dearth of peace in the world. The whole human energy having been diverted to this money making business, it has certainly increased the cheap money making capacity of the total population, but the result is that such unrestricted and unlawful inflation of money has created a bad economy and has enabled us to manufacture huge costly weapons for destroying the result of such cheap money making business. The authorities of big money making countries, instead of enjoying peace, are now engaged in making important plans as to how they can save themselves from the modern destructive weapons. And as a matter of fact, a huge sum of money is being thrown into the sea for making an experiment on such dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at huge cost but also at cost of many poor lives, binding thereby such nations in the laws of karma. Those who unlawfully accumulated money would find it snatched away by taxes for wars and other agents of illusory nature in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitutions, so called sadhus, famines, earthquake, and many such calamities. A miser who hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to Godhead by the dictation of illusory nature sent up spent up rupees 20,000 for a week's ailment and died at the end. A similar thing happened when a man who refused to spend a paisa for the service of the Lord spoiled rupees 30,000 in litigation affairs between members of the home. That is the law of nature. A worker in a New Delhi post office, noticing the title of the magazines Abhay was sending abroad, took the opportunity to argue his atheistic opinions with Abhay. Srila Prabhupada, the postmaster was an Arya Samaji, and he was talking to me about the paper, Back to Godhead. He raised the question, if we do our duty nicely, then what is the use of worshipping God? If we become honest, if we become moral, if we do not do anything which is harmful to anyone, if we act in this way, then what is the need of this? Because our paper's name was Back to Godhead. He was indirectly protesting. What is the use of propagating this philosophy of Godhead if we act nicely? That is the Arya Samajist view, how to avoid God. So I replied that if one is not God conscious, he cannot be a moralist, he cannot be truthful, he cannot be honest. This is our point of view. You study the whole world just on these 3 points: morality, honesty, and beautifulness. But if he is not God conscious, he cannot continue such things. To revive all these good qualities in society, you first have to invoke God consciousness. Prabhuji, I think you have to go little up. Okay. A Delhi man, noticing Abhay distributing back to Godhead, remarked, Where is Godhead? Can you show me God? Abhay replied to the challenge. But he also pondered a deeper reply as he moved throughout the city during the day. On returning to his room, he began an article. Where is Godhead? Is it possible to see him? In the Secretariat buildings in New Delhi, there is an inscription on the stone that library does not descend upon a people, but it has to be earned before it can be enjoyed. Actually, this is the fact, and we have seen it that much sacrifice had to be rendered by the people of India before they could gain Swaraj. But in the matter of Godhead, some irresponsible people ask, where is God? Can you show me? Have you seen God? These are some of the questions put forward by some irresponsible men who want to have everything very cheap. If for attaining a temporary false sense of liberty in this material world, so much labor and sacrifice have to be requisite. Is it possible to see Godhead, the absolute truth, so cheaply? To see God means complete liberty from all conditions. But is Godhead unattending orderly so that he may be present at my command? The atheist, however, demands like that, as if Godhead is his paid servant, and he thinks that Godhead is an imaginary thing. Otherwise, he would have appeared before us as soon as the demand to see him is made. One time, while he was walking on a secluded street, pursuing his back to Godhead duties, a stray cow, the kind commonly seen wandering the streets of any Indian town or city, suddenly charged him, goring his side with her horn, and knocked him down. At first, he could not get up, and no one came to help him. As he lay there, he wondered why it had happened. Summer came, and the 110-degree heat made it almost intolerable to spend time out of doors. Hot, dust laden winds blew in the city streets. Street side hawkers closed their business during the day. In early May, during 112-degree heat, a man collapsed in the street and died of his heat stroke. But Abhay ignored the heat and the ordinary limitations of the body. One day, while delivering back to Godhead to various addresses in the city, Abhay suddenly began reeling, half unconscious, overcome by the heat. At that very moment, an acquaintance of his, a man he had approached during his preaching, happened to be passing by in his car, and he took Abhay to a doctor. The doctor diagnosed him as a victim of heat stroke and ordered him to rest. So we'll stop here reading. We'll continue tomorrow. So my realizations from today's reading is see when we try to progress in bhakti or we accept devotional service, that means it's a war against Maya. We see how Srila Prabhupada is suffering, is going through so many difficulties only because he was trying to preach people in general about the Godhead and that how everything is under the control of Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means he was in a war against Maya, and the people who are already in Maya, they were not able to accept that there is God. Like we see how the man in the post office, he was arguing with Srila Prabhupada that if we'll do it, that's what in general everybody in this material world, those who don't, those atheistic people they don't believe in God. They don't think they don't think there is something superior who is controlling everything. They don't believe that, and they are the so-called knowledgeous people in this material world. They think if we'll do everything good, if we'll do our duties, then what is the use of worshiping God, or what is the use of understanding who is God, and etc etc. So you see, Srila Prabhupada is saying like they think that God is so cheap that, and they think also it's imaginary, because unless then why if they demand to see God, why God is not appearing? That means he's not appearing means he's not there. That's what materialistic people's belief is. And we see how few miser people, like they were so hesitant to buy just a copy of Back to Godhead magazine for few paisa, and mm, they are like they have to spend so much of money in other material, family, family issues, like 20,000, 30,000 in a week. That's how it happens. If if you want to save, like in some way or other, the money will go. So better to spend it in the Lord's service. We see so much of difficulty Srila Prabhupada was, going through, like how a cow just came, hit him, and then even Srila Prabhupada was not caring for the heat. It's like 112 degree Fahrenheit, and so like hot wind and everything. Nobody was there on the street, but Srila Prabhupada was busy in. For his Back to Godhead magazine. Why he was doing all these things? He was doing because Srila Prabhupada came here to spread the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and to just to execute his guru's instruction. It's nothing for himself. If he can come and he just simply sit and chant, maybe he chant like so many rounds per day. That's for his own benefit. But he was not doing that. He was taking all these difficulties and sufferings only because of us, so that all the everybody in this material world will get peace. Also, that's what also described in the beginning, how peace, real peace, will not be obtained without a God conscious civilization. How and it's also described very beautifully that how the illusory energy, it comes in the form of medical practitioners, tax collectors, and so many things. It comes in those forms to take all the money from us. So if we'll not spend in Krishna's service, then we have to, somehow or other, we have to spend it in this illusory energy. So better we have to always, all our energy, whether it is money or it is our time, like our own self, we have to we have to invest everything in Krishna's service. That's my realization.